on Fox City to be the IGL for that event, and they recently switched to using him, so it was going to be way too much of a gargantuan task to suddenly switch that back up, especially having to play with their coach at the time too. So this time seems like everything has gone swimmingly so far. Fingers crossed on that. And OXG looking to finally seal in that tournament for themselves. It could be here at Charlotte that they finally get it done. But they'll have to get past this match versus the Direwolves first. Not along the line for them, OXG that is, but for Direwolves, this means everything, and they will need the regulation victory to carry this forward. Yana, an interesting ban from the Direwolves, as we've seen Yana become very much the mainstay aggressive operator, replacing what would normally be like Ashe in some scenarios, Zofia to some extent too.
Rest in peace, Ashe.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's going to be very equivalent to that, as she is banned down in Vertical now, calling that out. Hey.
Well, is anybody going to answer the guy? Is he? I guess they're.
I think they're probably like.
I'm not talking to you.
They probably don't know what that means.
You're the enemy. I'm not discussing anything with you, sir.
Just a random hey. You can't really respond to that.
Yana banned out.
Context.
And honestly, I for just a split second there, with the amount of time Direwolves was thinking about that, I honestly thought they were contemplating a Thatcher ban. And I was about to be like, oh boys, no, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see a Mav Thatcher ban on Theme Park. It's like the anti-fun club of bans. But we're instead going to have the Yana Mav as well as Kaid and Mira removed from play, making a heck of a lot of sense, even in the Yana category. More than likely, all of you at home knowing just how potent that operator can be, not only with her Gemini and the unlimited information that you can get, since she never technically loses it, it just goes on cooldown, you have to use it later on. She also has frag grenades and that incredible ARX that we've seen just body so many people before. Direwolves already pulling out all of the stops. I don't know if they're going to stick this. We still have 30 seconds to go in the prep phase, but we did have a Glass locked in initially. Pekin's going to go over to the Zofia, but we do still have the Monty in play.
Monty will stick in. Direwolves going to bring a new flair to their attacking lineup. Not see that deployed at all from the previous map on board. A bit different though in terms of how you need to clear out this map. Much heavier roam presence, but it's looking like the Monty is actually not going to stick around. Really a full change up here for the Direwolves lineup as the Gar hook will be brought out for Pecan once again. Zofia will be fragging in here for Jackie Wu instead of the Monty, and then finally Harambe as well, switching off of his initial pick and onto an ace to bring the hard breach back in.
Well, Nuos will be working things out over on the Dragon balcony for the time being. He's got the Valkyrie, so he's going to have these cameras around to be able to assist him. Pekin also looking to go inside of Break Room, I do believe, as they'll try and time this appropriately. Wasn't even trying to stick the Zope. That ended up over on Jackie. Pekin initially looking at the Glass, switching to the Zope, and then eventually the Amaru, as this is looking to be a pretty spicy play. He's going to fly inside, and he's going to die pretty quickly as Dream is on Arcade balcony, and the drone simply skippers in the window after Amaru, not really able to do much except get some vision. Dream's going to simply walk into the LMG of Jackie, though, and he's going to actually trade this out pretty evenly. Dream was the smoke, so if anything, you got to say, well, Oxygen, a little worse for wear given that situation.
Yeah, Bates Pecan to get it done a little bit, but I guess the trade is somewhat successful here as they bring it down to a 4v4, and as you said, waste out all three of those Toxic Babes. No utility usage this time going to come in. Oh, what was that, though, from Vert? I thought he was dead to rights. Harambe sneaking right up behind him with a 180 shot from Vertical. He is too quick. He shuts it down instead, and Oxygen retake the player advantage.
Vert, you almost killed a caster. I had water in my mouth. I almost drowned. That was not okay, okay? And if you're starting off like that, then how are we going to end here? That's the real question. Direwolves with grenade in hand, specifically for Souffle, but it's eaten up by the Wamai disc instead. Pre-fires for the shield, but they've been stunted for growth, not able to actually get inside of the building. All except for ED, who works his way up the arcade stairs very quickly. Somebody stepping on a goo mine as well. ED constantly checking these angles. Still has one more EE1D, speaking of which, but hasn't used it just yet. Not feeling himself, but indeed actually has a suppressor on the end of his V308. Kind of some interesting interactions you can have with a suppressor in this game. It lowers your damage, but it actually removes the fire trail, like the little trail that comes after your bullet, the bullet trail rather, as I build myself up for that. Either way, though, it gets rid of those, so you can spam walls and stuff like that a little bit easier without people knowing exactly where you're shooting from. That's something that Echo's really good at on defense. We've seen multitude of different times, but now for ED as well as Direwolves, they have to spring too. Oxygen know that the plan's going down. They're going to try and swing through, and Newers gets caught completely off guard. He sprints into the room, and that's going to put his gun down by his waist. Doesn't have the potential to try and take out the Direwolves member, and now Oxygen have simply let Direwolves into the site.
Vertical continuing to move himself forward, but he's going to be found out in the middle of the ocean, essentially, here, as he goes down. Won't be confirmed just yet, but that's not really going to be of too much consequence. Laxing alone on an island himself here in the 1v3. Spots out the position there from Jackie Wu, but he's still going to win the fight. And the Direwolves get themselves onto solid footing here for round number 1. Just 6 more to go. They will lock in their playoff spot.
I don't want to say anything just yet about Oxygen's decisions, but it does kind of seem as though they've slowed down their play and have allowed Direwolves to start working their way in. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's no way that they just allowed Direwolves to walk into initiation. That was indeed a decision made by them, more than likely.
I think what I said at the beginning of the game is fairly accurate here. Oxygen are chilling in this game right
They're
now.
big vibing.
Yeah, this is like a scrim for them at the moment.
Yeah, especially with the way that Dream just challenges the window. You're never going to have your smoke really do that in that instance, especially for Dream. Like, he's very calculated about what he does on the defensive end. But it sounds like we're going to end up having a... oh, actually cancel that. We saved it right there at the tail end, didn't we? So don't have to actually worry about anything to do.
Once again, back into the fold here. As the Direwolves get themselves off to a booming start, should be brimming with confidence now after the way that the round played out too. They know that this is not necessarily going to be the toughest when it comes to things like early clears and whatnot. Just have to watch out more for the individual skill of the members of Oxygen more than anything based on the way that we saw that first round play out, but things could change here fairly quickly, as Oxygen is going to shift their sight, won't be going for the second floor attempt yet again. Instead, it's back down on the first floor here. We'll go for one of the most bunkery sites in Siege right now,
Indeed.
the Armory and Throne Room, by far the least just kind of default access that the attackers have to the site. There's only like those 2 to 3 walls that'll be reinforced, and the hatches. That is it, and the doorways too, of course.
Well, as I push my fake glasses up the bridge of my nose, there's actually 6 walls inside of the site,
Well,
John.
three
Because you
sets
need
of walls, is what I
6 reinforcements. I'm just messing with
Yeah,
you.
I mean sets of walls.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
Technically, that is still one continuous wall, so...
yeah, well, you need 2 panels to get it done, and that's how we count in Siege.
The sentence wasn't entirely incorrect.
All right. Okay, now you sound like the government, all right? Well, I wasn't technically wrong. Well, you weren't technically right either. Like, come on, man. Triple ADS will be applied here just to try and keep the wall, or rather the people playing around throne safe. That's really what this is for. You know, the angles there might be a little harsh for Oxygen if they're able to get that to bounce right. I'm feeling a little weird about the positioning there, but they're pro players. They know what they're doing. Obviously, the vertical look going down, not vertical player, but actually looking down on top of them is always going to give you kind of a weird side-eye view. So they'll more than likely catch anything being thrown in there, but definitely something to keep your eye on if that mute jammer does end up getting popped really early.
The other important thing to note, too, is the top-down positions against this site are fairly minimal, if non-existent, for the attackers, which is a big far cry from a lot of our downstairs sites we tend to get on other maps and even inside of this very map itself. So an extra challenge for the attackers here to try and work their way into it. And they're going to bring the Monte to bear this time, for those who haven't already seen that big silhouette in the back or managed to catch it earlier on the right side. Norwich will certainly see it, so he is going to fall back towards the arcade side of the map here. The challenge is a little bit too much for him to deal with, so he's going to support, I believe it should be vertical, playing over here towards Cafe.
It absolutely is. Those two will be on an extended hold as of right now, but they're going to back towards arcade, at least for Newer's sake. They're on the stairwell, just simply waiting for somebody to try and jump in the window, but both of them have abandoned this at the 2-minute mark. Pretty early for a traditional roam, but also have yet another member up here that we didn't initially see, one inside a break. I do believe that's Fox A still. Yes, indeed. We saw him make some shotgun holes up top, but I just assumed that he went back downstairs, to be honest with you, but clearly not. He's actually still sticking around this space, but the good news for him is that arcade balcony is right outside, so he can just jump down and get back into sight at a moment's notice. Jackie Wu will continue to push forward here, so clearing out the area, but as we can see via the silhouettes, there's not a single person home on the top floor at the current moment.
Jackie Wu just hunting here as he works his way forward, making sure that there was no additional players from Oxygen left unchecked here on the second floor hold, and they will confirm that with the EE1D charge coming out from ED now. Wow, that's a that's a mouthful there on that player.
When I had to say it last round, I was like, whoa, tongue twister.
Yeah, that'll mess you up. So hopefully wanted to worry about that for future rounds, but either way, we can see the Direwolves bracing themselves, get closer to the site, finding a lineup against Newers, but unable to get the winning shot. ED just gets a bullet or two off on Newers there, bringing him down to about 80 HP. Not the end of the world, and unfortunately for the Direwolves, they seem to be a bit stuck, even with that hatch open. They have not found the direct path into this site. More importantly, they have not cleared out the extended position over here towards Lab. Also, the Montaigne sending them back. They are going to notice Vertical's position here, so we'll probably stop at the kitchen doorway, but Newers, he's going to be able to catch the case as he falls further back now, with a second kill for Oxygen inside of this round, besides the connector.
Direwolves are trying to fend off the entire lab setup here, but it's too strong from Oxygen. A multitude of bodies, but now Souffle is in, can't get the second one. Jackie Wu has to try and pick up the pieces. Jackie Wu will beat Vertical down into this 2v3 situation. It's 15 seconds remain as the case will get picked up by the Monty. He's definitely going to need some assistance from ED in this V3 if he can get this swing to go. No more EDDs in his pocket, though, as he'll be able to flip around, potentially pick up the last kill, but Dream will swing in. It's rather Fox, It was Dream to down the other one. Some nice shots there from ED, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, one attempt from ED, the 180, giving us vibes from Vertical on the very first round right there with how he flicks into that shot. Unfortunately, a little too slow to save his teammate's life, loses the Montaigne, loses his massive wall of safety that he could have used to potentially take down Dream in those final 5 seconds too. So Oxygen fire back. They lock down their first round here inside of the throne room. Will now move back upstairs to their original site in Bunk and Daycare to try and control things on their third round.
Oxygen have been able to tie things up. They're going to go to another new site this time around, and well, for Dream, we'll be back onto the smoke yet again. Vertical will be grabbing the one mine. Newers back onto the Valkyrie past the Vigil that we saw the last time around. Also the impacts here to be able to try and connect some things. No Nitro cells, actually, funny enough for him. We're going to have the Glaz attempting to be worked back in from Direwolves, but we haven't seen them secure it in the last 2 rounds, so I wouldn't think too much on that just yet until we get into the round, but ED is still going to be rocking the EDTs, John, so we're going to continue to have fun with that.
That's certainly the case. The EU1D will still be used quite a bit by the player. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a round. We are back into it finally, once more. One final apology from the entire crew here at Charlotte, but we are back now in game and live with the round, and we are deep enough into it to where there's no stopping it at this point. So let's get into it now. The Direwolves back on the attack, Oxygen on the defense. For those of you who weren't here before, this matchup is currently 1-1 with the Direwolves walking through the initial upstairs setup from Oxygen, but Oxygen changing sites to throne room and quickly bouncing it back to a 1-1 scoreline, leaving us here now in the third round.
Direwolves have to win this inside of regulation to guarantee themselves a spot inside of our playoff stage. As for Oxygen, they're currently at 9 points and ahead of both of the other teams inside of their group by such a margin that there is no capability for any of them to take that away from them. Oxygen will top out Group A no matter what happens inside of this matchup or this round. But now, past that, past the long wait, apologies about that again, folks, we are here and we are ready to see the conclusion of Theme Park. Still have a decent road ahead of us here. A lot of action to still be seen as we get into it here. About 1 minute and 15 seconds through, we've got the shield play back out from Jackie Wu on the Monty. Almost gets taken out by the M590 there, but luckily the pellets aren't going to eat him up too much. Just a little graze onto his shoulder and he'll stay alive.
Jackie Wu trying to pop in some shots there before they hop back over the barricade. And speaking of barricades, there's going to be a new one popping back up to reinforce that wall now that our roaming player from Oxygen has been able to successfully fall back. Jackie's kind of done with this upstairs roam too, so he's going to rotate away from that into a better position to play out, heading up to the roof first, and more than likely, I believe, going to try to lean himself over towards Cafe side, but we'll see a confirmation of that over the next 30 seconds or so here, so he'll still be moving around. Away from that, though, Direwolves continuing to take internal map control. You can see 3 additional members still trying to push their way through either the main mid-white hallway here in ED's case, with 2 others taking the previous Montaigne spot back over towards Cash.
Now with the minute remaining, Direwolves have got to work their way into sight. Jackie Wu off on an island by himself. Really no support from the other Direwolves members as they're going to begin breaking up the office wall for the top of yellow. Souffle has worked his way inside of the vault and can initially try and rotate across if he so chooses. Jackie Wu just trying to circumnavigate the actual cafeteria area right now. Some flashes in from ED and eventually an EE1D more than likely coming through. Peekin will get flashed out. He's going to swing, but it's going to be Dream to take him out. Souffle will get one of his own as ED will falter, but Souffle battles back yet yet again. It's the SMG-11 show, though, for the defenses. They'll equalize. Is it 3 versus 3? The Monty's still up, and some good info coming back and forth. Harambe to be taken down. It's all left up to Souffle to try and win this out. But what a shot from Newers! The mechanical ability of these Oxygen players being showed off yet again here. And we finally have our third round concluded. You can see just how happy Foxe is to have the game going again.
Everybody's like, yes, we got through it. So Oxygen is going to take that first round of play.
I'm saying knock on as much wood as you can find.
Yep,
just start,
pretty much.
Cross your fingers, avoid ladders, don't look in the mirror, just don't touch anything.
Don't
move.
Black Cat, put it in the other room.
Nobody move. Nobody touch a thing, okay? Just give us a second here. we want to make sure that this works. I can't have a single person move an inch at home right now. And I think
I'll jinx it.
You
think nothing.
I think nothing at all. Yes, you're right, John.
You think about casting. That's what you think about.
John, I don't even think about casting. I think about nothing. I'm like Kirby. I'm just a ball. That's all. I'm simply nothing. I just am. XSET's skin, though, is available in the store if you guys want to go pick that up for the R4C, as well as Oxygen and Direwolf skins as well. We have a multitude of other esports skins that will be added at a later date. You guys will see those at this event. They're pretty cool, though. So eventually those will be shown to you guys. But there's so many beautiful skins inside of that shop, and they directly support any of the esports teams that you give a damn about. And, well, for my sake, I've spent way too much money on them. I've probably paid some salaries at this point, but for you at home, there's plenty of them. And in my personal opinion, they're some of the best skins, not only in Siege, but in a multitude of FPSs.
All right, so once again, the round has gone off without a hitch here, so getting things started. Oxygen now with control over the matchup, currently at a 2-1 scoreline. Direwolves looking to make up the difference, but they're going to have a hard time doing that with Nurs, making a successful hop out to take down ED and eliminate the sled before he can make any impact whatsoever. So the nade's gone. That's an entire set eliminated. Still 4 others, of course, or actually, no, only 2 others to be brought in now with the death of ED. Away from that, we're going to be missing that sledge capability just in terms of the top-down breaches that could be made too. Won't be missing that to a huge degree here, thankfully, since we're on a second-floor hold, but still could have helped to clear things out a little bit inside of the mid-round.
Well, vertical. It's a challenge, but doesn't find too much inside of Cafeteria. Harambe making the cross here from the break window. A pretty cheeky angle that we see time and time again here, but Dream obviously having the info on that as he's back to the basics, playing on the arcade balcony where he was on the first round where we saw the Amaru swing in with the Gara hook and Dream eventually take him down, which was inevitably traded by another player on the window. Now for Direwolves, though, they've slowed up after losing ED. They're looking to see what their next strike could potentially be. Foxe will be at the top floor, trying to stay low-key for the time being. Has to move towards Arcade, but still has to worry about Souffle with some grenades. It's going to bounce towards Dream, but he's going to be able to stay alive. Another smoke down to hold down Arcade stairs. Challenges back in towards Break, but this has been a pretty cool, calm, and collected defense thus far.
Dream continuing to wait out this play from the Direwolves here. He will deploy himself onto that rappel here. Dream at the same time sits at the other end of it, waiting for a potential swing in, waiting to capitalize. I think the player for Direwolves, this is on that corner position there. They got to kill at the opening of this matchup, but it's not going to be the case here. Oxygen just shutting it down initially. 3 kills. Oh, wow. Now 5 kills going in their direction, and we don't even get to see them all. They happen so quickly. Oxygen absolutely run over the attack from the Direwolves there and have an easy time picking up yet another round.
Super unfortunate for Direwolves at the moment as Oxygen begins running amok of things. 2 quick rounds for them and a 3-1 lead on the defensive end. Theme Park usually leaning into the defense a little bit, but it has changed within recent history. It started to become more team dependent and really what's been happening inside of the match between the two. But as of right now, Direwolves, they simply can't get anything done on this offense, especially inside of the last round. It was all just falter after blunder, and they inevitably get flawless by OXG. They're going to shift gears and head back towards Armory and Throne Room to see if they can claim this site yet again.
Attempt to do that. We'll see some slight change-ups here for the Direwolves, mainly just in their hard breach department. Harambe's going to move from the Ace over to the Thermite instead. Montaigne will be brought forward instead of a Finka, interestingly enough, as ED is going to keep the Lion in check. And on top of that, we will see a Zofia added to kind of make up for the difference here. Add a little bit more. Actually, never mind. Back over to the Twitch here, as it's actively changing as this prep phase continues onwards here, making sure they have the appropriate amount of utility and, more importantly, fragging power, with Jackie switching away from the Finka there. Pecan going back over onto the Twitch is definitely going to help out with that a little bit, not only in terms of what the Twitch drones can offer, but arguably more importantly, that F2 gun style, adding a bit more prowess in the aggressive department here for Direwolves.
Well, for Dire Wolves, we're hoping for a slower opener, aren't we, John? We don't want to see them try and falter here in the first couple of minutes. Don't really want to see an opening pick from Oxygen in such a convincing way. Hopefully Dire Wolves can potentially strike. It's a Nitro Cell out for Newers and only a lick of damage done to Jackie. He is on the Monty yet again here. It's going to assist them with taking control of Cash and giving them a good read on what Newers' capabilities are. So Crossfire here as the Monty will simply disengage the shield, apply the pistol, but won't be able to tag the Valkyrie as he skippers off.
Jackie now ready to move himself in through the cash room first off. As the team still a little bit more behind that as we continue to see Dire Wolves take a much more measured approach to things, but despite that, Laxing allowed to get away with one yet again from the inside of Billiards, masking his position in the corner, apparently either missed-droned or not droned at all, and he gets the opening kill again.
Is that not the most Laxing thing you've ever seen
Oh,
in your
yeah.
life?
I mean, that's just him.
Some random drone off in the corner that didn't see Laxing, a guy hops in the window, dives to Laxing. It's as bread and butter as anything. And the most hilarious and also crazy thing about it is that's how Laxing has played the game for years, and still to this day, no one can stop him from playing like this. So now with that being said, peeking down and Oxygen looking to take yet another round if any of the previous rounds have anything to say about round 5. Harambe will be droning out Split as of now. ED trying to get rid of a Valkyrie cam, and he is successful. Dire Wolves still need to get quite a bit done. They're going to need this hard breach from Harambe to start pushing themselves toward an actual site execute. Everything's still reinforced for the current moment, making it quite difficult for them to bear down on the members of Oxygen in sight. They still have to worry about all of the members over here inside of Drug and everything else, but yet again, another problematic issue. The Monty's going to slide up and down, and oh, it's not going to be the melee kill. Instead, it's going to be Vert and Laxing both going down. ED hopping to at the proper moment. We'll be able to trade that out, and now Dire Wolves have the man advantage.
Finally overwhelming the setup there leaves these numbers a lot more palatable to play out the remaining bits of the round, but as you're going to see, they have no access to this wall they want to breach open here. Still Mute Chamber sitting on the other side. Nitro out, and it can do big damage, but surprisingly, not a whole lot going out against our attackers here. They're able to dodge the large majority of it, but it still might have taken out the Exo. That's what's important out of this one. Harambe, no additional ones to utilize here, so they're going to have to go directly in through the connector now and force their way into the site. Flash connections are good. Forces Foxy away from his position here. Top-down shots are coming back in, though, and they're starting to hurt this assault as they see them working their way forward. Foxy rolls in on the flank, takes care of nearly every single member except for the top-down player. Souffle trying to clutch it, but Foxy's ready for one more pickup here as yet another round is claimed by the OXG roster.
Pretty sick hold there for Foxy as he'll lock it down with the M590. Dire Wolves trying to force things through Split, but it's ill-advised. After Oxygen get those initial picks and give Dire Wolves a minimal amount of time to get things done, they simply cannot get the yellow wall open, which allows Foxy to play like a maniac over here near Furnace. There's no way to really shut him down unless somebody's occupying the verticality, but obviously that wasn't there either. Dire Wolves now down 3 rounds, and just to remind all of you at home, Dire Wolves must win this in regulation in order to make it to the playoff stage. It's going to be a tactical timeout now for Dire Wolves to see if their coach can potentially assist them in picking up another round on this offense before we switch sides.
Can only strategize, as you said, for this one final round in terms of this happen. They can think broader scope and notice things that Oxygen are definitely going to deploy towards on their attacking side too and try to correct those issues to make sure they're not going to struggle with them once we get to round 7 and onward. Like Stokes mentioned, Dire Wolves are kind of against the wall right now, already 3 rounds down. Very strong possibility, unless this pause yields results, that we end up with a 5-1 at the half here, as OXG has just been shutting down the past 3 to 4 rounds here ever since we resumed play back on round number 3. So things are looking bleak, I would say, for the Apex squad at this point. And they're going to need a big increase in strength here to bring them back from the brink. Otherwise, we could be looking, unfortunately, at their elimination being confirmed relatively soon.
Yes, indeed. And with that being said, an opportunity arises for them to rise from the ashes of these previous rounds and try and take this one out from under Oxygen. Dire Wolves won at the current moment. They're going to be bringing the Monty back in for Jackie Wu. Be applying some of these laser gates around for Oxygen's sake over towards Cafeteria. It'll force them to clear out that gate and give some audio cues over towards Oxygen if they are going to be playing around the top of yellow. It'll make things a little bit easier for them given that circumstance. As for Oxygen's remaining members, let's be setting some tidbits up around the map. Beacon also for Dire Wolves will confirm Thatcher on that end, so hopefully that can assist them in getting some of these walls open as they have the Selmas of Ace along for the ride.
Oxygen continue to maintain a pretty serious advantage here. Nurse is going to go for that run out over towards Cash Door yet again. Actually varies a bit as he tried to hop out the window previously. Just does it a bit differently this time. Unfortunately for him, no one on the rappel this time around, or what would have been there is around the corner, as you can see for ED. Jackie Wu only just now heading up onto the Dragon balcony himself, so we'll continue to maintain that positioning as well. But Norris, as well as the other aggressor from Oxygen, are long gone. They've actually, never mind, I'll correct myself. They have since fallen back, but Foxay has stuck around here. A bit dodgy inside of that initial duel, but he knows Jackie Wu is going to have a second or two where he can't bring his gun out. Tries to go for the repeat there. He corrects that fight in terms of the damage distribution between himself and Jackie, but still ends up on the losing end of it. As you can see on the bottom of your screen, there were just a sliver of HP left.
Good news, though, is given the position, if they do end up mismanaging this, I'm just going to stop myself there because he's going to end up leaving as soon as that drone comes in. Probably a better idea for Foxay. I'd assume that they do drone that out correctly, and also if the Monty walks in there, he's just dead to rights at the end of the day anyway. Have a mute jam around the area. Monty will eventually get rid of it, and now Direwolves are allowed to proceed. Still have to worry about a lot of this setup here from Oxygen as they had extended themselves out towards the office and did what they did last time. Hop back through the reinforcement, or rather the hole for yellow that they have at the top of the stairwell, reinforce that panel, and now Oxygen have a nice little setup for themselves over on site. Laxian's going to be ratting out over inside of maintenance. Foxay downstairs, and I believe, if I know my angles, Armory. He's going to Nitro Cell ED here, and it's going to deal quite a bit of damage. Laxian, I do believe, hasn't been droned out yet. I know that there's a drone from Direwolves inside of the Dragon statue area, so he could get droned out once he actually moves out of that area. Foxay trying to abuse this verticality as of right now to see if he can potentially claim ED, who's on exactly the same amount of health practically as Foxay.
Continuing to wait for a vertical to make a play opportunity here. But it seems as though Laxing is going to start things out a little bit better. Only able to translate a 1-for-1, but that's still going to cause some delay for the Direwolves, which us already being at this late point in the round is really enough here. Vertical, make sure he doesn't get baited by this fan. It's actually going to be a little tricky here, as that looks a lot like a head wrapping out there, but he should be able to get used to it. More importantly, keep an eye on things. But the problem is he's also going to be revealed by this drone, so really cannot maintain the position any further. Other good news, though, is they do spot this flank coming back in, and it's been fended off, too, as Oxygen have all this additional presence upstairs. So Jackie Wu not going to be able to advance directly into the site just yet. At the same time, he will lose his support sitting further back over by the main stairs. Dream fending off yet another member of this team. Jackie just trying to jump directly in and fight Nurs, but he's ready for that. Headshots him out while he's halfway through the window. Vert with one more as he'll get exchanged too, but Pecan, left alone in the 1v3, cannot maintain the on-site presence. He's surrounded by everyone from Oxygen, so they pick up and confirm the 5-1 scoreline as we reach our halftime marker.
Oh, this is not looking good for Direwolves. Not only were they not able to procure that, but they've already used their tactical timeout, which means that their coach can no longer have any influence over this game. Oxygen will be switching things up and going to the offensive side now, and obviously that means Direwolves is now on defense. Initiation office is going to be their first site, and really nothing to really call back on for the Direwolves that was overall successful past that first round that they were able to proclaim. For Oxygen, it was just utter dominance time and time again, whether it be via their openers or being able to delay and deal with Direwolves in other manners. But as of now, it's Direwolves' job to set up this site and see what they can potentially get done inside of initiation.
Initiation will be the site of play. Lots of mitigation being brought to bear here between both Rooney as well as being brought in from Souffle here too. He also wanting to bring the Banshees to bear, but ends up switching over to a little bit more of a comfortable pick. We've been seeing him drift towards the Alibi, and her clones will be inside in this game instead to play. Aside from that, though, fairly expected lineup of operators to keep yourself fairly mobile across this map, as you do need to play into that roam game quite heavily. This is not a map you can rely on your site play to really win out most of these sites, with the one exception, of course, really being throne room. And even then, you still want to extend out to try and waste the time bank down a bit.
Yeah, you really, really do. If you turtle up on Armory Throne, more than likely they just take the top floor, pop yellow wall, and then you're just taking elongated fights with ARs that deal way more damage than your guns do on defense. So you have to hit your headshots, otherwise you lose the gunfight. That's just how it goes nowadays with how strong and potent these LMGs are. Peeking though, out here towards Dragon, they are more than likely going to know of this location, as this is a very common space to be playing early on here on Throne. But it's also good for Peeking because he can just hop over the balcony at any given moment. He's also got the support of ED around the area, as he'll be playing the half wall for Cash.
So 45 seconds have gone by, but things remain relatively quiet across the map here. The expression of ED just denying some presence over by Dragon Balcony. Peacock trying to do the same thing, and oh, he grabs a vertical on his swing in, but he's not going to be able to confirm it, unfortunately. Adrenal Surge comes out from Nurs. That's going to revive Vert, but obviously at very low HP, he's losing a lot of the benefits now that Montaigne would generally bring, as he can't really take those chip shots anymore to bring his HP lower. So we're potentially going to kill him if he sticks around for too long here. Oxygen able to work their way in regardless, though they do take Dragon control, but there's a lot more work to do, including clearing out Harambe, still sitting down below here in the hallway between drums and maintenance.
Nitrocell out will not claim anyone on Oxygen's side upstairs. Vertical now doing his best to try and hold things down in initiation. I believe somebody caught him from underneath. They did. It's Harambe launching shots from the shotgun. Able to tag him up just a little bit, but fortunately enough, they Finka boosted yet again. He had a little bit of extra HP, and it was just enough to keep him alive. Oxygen have Vertical on practical life support at the moment, but it's simply working for them. They know that Harambe's still down low. It looks like they're seemingly wanting to clear this out. A lot of drones already down. In fact, only 3 remaining for Oxygen at the current moment as we go down to the last minute.
Harambe continuing to wait things out here for the swing to come in. A bit of an awkward dance, obviously, against Vertical due to the low HP that he already has. All of the Adrenal Surges have been used, but the bait is perfect. Vertical sends Harambe swinging the other way, right into the waiting arms of Foxe, who knocks him out and gives them finally their first kill on this round, but happening quite late at about the 50-second marker. Means that there's a lot more pushes still to be made here, and Vertical is going to try to force his way in. The impact, though, sends him down to his grave, and ED on top of that will be able to leverage another kill in the favor of the Direwolves. Nors will trade that back, keeps the numbers even at a 3v3 as ED desperately hunts for the next push. He finds it, but he also finds a bullet into his skull. Nurs takes him down. Oxygen take the player advantage, but now the time starting to shift heftily into the Direwolves' favor. This lurk coming back in here from Pecan to try and shut down the push from Oxygen. It will not work out. He'll miss pretty much every shot he throws. Souffle trying to pull off the same thing, but he can't lock down any of these players. Gets one, but he's lost his other teammate, and Dream follows it through to take down the last remaining member. One more round is all that separates Oxygen from a flawless run here in the groups.
Oxygen 6-1 over Direwolves. These kiddie pool games aren't going to work up against them. Simply holding things down in maintenance will not stop Oxygen. Fantastic round from them, especially being able to keep Vert alive as long as they did. There were so many things that he had to be worried about, especially with how much damage was dealt to him so early on. So to have him die eventually at 36 seconds remaining, I mean, that alone was a feat. But Oxygen still able to take it to Direwolves inside of the 3 versus 3, and specifically Nurs with some amazing entry capability on that round. And that's what we expect from him on this squad.
Direwolves potentially hoping that they might have had a bit of an easier time in this matchup given the circumstances for Oxygen's playoff contentions, but that was not the case. Oxygen came to play. They came to shut this game down, especially after our technical pause. They really took over things and have not dropped a singular round since then. The Direwolves now sit facing potential elimination here, unfortunately. And I think at this point it's just locked in now that they've got themselves up to 6 rounds too. That's the unfortunate part for the Direwolves. Even if we see them come back into OT and win that game, they would still only end up tying with Team 1's scoreline. And on top of that, the round differential is more than likely going to be too much of a difference here, as at most, Direwolves would now be winning by 2. So more than likely, with Oxygen getting that 6th round on the board, that should confirm Team 1's position in the playoffs.
Well, Oxygen, I believe actually they've already secured it.
Yep, that's what I was just saying.
Oh, okay. Apologies about that. I was checking on some notes initially here, but yes, indeed, Oxygen have done it. Direwolves, they can no longer make playoffs. There is no chance that they are capable of doing any of this, unfortunately enough for them. Makeshift last round was the previous one. So Oxygen now just seemingly want to get this match over with. Team 1, congratulations. You did enough to make it to the playoff stage, and unfortunately enough for our APAC representatives, we will not have them around for much longer. But it has been an absolute pleasure getting to see Direwolves play at this LAN event. It's been so cool to have a team from Taiwan here and being able to experience what that's like inside of the Siege community. And honestly, it's been just such an amazing show. Some fantastic players, and hopefully we get them back soon.
Yeah, obviously only a short run here due to the circumstances surrounding Elevate 2, so less games inside of this group. So 4 matches we've seen Direwolves play over the past few days, but already a gargantuan improvement in today's games more than anything. Their matchup specifically
Double
versus
nade,
the Latin American team was excellent. Trying to make a parting point here about the Direwolves, but Foxe just trying to usher us along here here. 2 nade kills from him, but Jackie Wu wants to stick around for a little bit longer as he finally trades back the opening frag against Foxy.
Well, Vertical trying to get something done, but Pekin, oh my god! He slams Dream! Direwolves, I wish we could have got more of this last round, but unfortunately enough, well, Oxygen still have a chance to shut this down. Direwolves, yet again, not going to mean too much, even if they do win the round, but as of right now, Oxygen can shut it down in a 7-1 fashion, whereas it was a 7-2 the day prior. Laxing can start lurking. The drone out, tries to reset the gate. I don't know if he got it there. It was a quick fire. It's going to be a cross on Cafe. 45 seconds remaining. No drones, all except for what Laxing is capable of mustering at the current moment, as he has 2 on the field, but they're more than likely watching some flanks. And they're stun out to burn up that laser gate, and a swing from Pekin from sight. It's a triple kill for him. It's now down to Newers. Can he do it in the clutch?
We're continuing to try and see if he can end the game now. Obviously, Oxygen, very minimal pressure on them to clutch out this round. They've got 4 more opportunities if they lose this one out. But still, Newers wants to try and give his team as good of a round difference as possible. It seems like Oxygen are really going for the achievement here inside of groups. Nice shot to start things off as he manages to shut down Pecan. Not going to be giving Direwolves anything here, but time is running out. Newers running out of opportunities to close this one down. He has case control, but realistically, once he puts that down on the ground, he is pretty much dead. As you can see, he is surrounded here. No capability to get out of. He's not even going to try it. Time runs out, and the Direwolves hold on for just a bit longer, despite the circumstances.
I can tell you this, though. Watching Newers play this game anytime is one of the most terrifying things for the opponent. He's just so snappy. Even just not even trying to kill anyone, just moving around the map, he has some of the snappiest gameplay I've ever seen out of any Rainbow Six player in my entire life. I've been playing this game since beta. It's actually just so impressive. But now Direwolves have been able to secure their second round, and unfortunately enough for Newers, he won't have another one for his highlight reel, although it has been a highlight tournament for him. And this game, really another feather in his cap, as he is at a 9-1 scoreline. His only death, not even in that last round, as he simply lost on time.
We're going to see a Thorn actually getting swapped in during the pick phase there for ED, which is an interesting choice. Thorn, an operator we've been seeing teams kind of flirt with over the past few months here. They're throwing it in every now and again. Very much, from my observations at least, falling into the same category as operators kind of like Capcan, where you throw the utility down. You're not going to expect it necessarily to make a huge difference, but in a fairly quick scenario where the attackers may be panicking and not checking for things like that, that's where you can potentially have that utility find some serious effectiveness, much like the EDDs from Capcan there. Teams just not even time to check the sides and doorways, they walk into it, boom, that's an extra player going down just because of some smart utility placement.
Oh, absolutely. Makes a lot more sense. Thank you, John. I really do appreciate that. So for Pecan now, looking for the initial peek here. Nitro Cell in pocket. Could potentially throw that if anybody tries to repel. A pretty commonplace strat here for Cash Stash. Nice swing, and Vertical's actually going to be able to make it up top. Unfortunately enough for Pecan, has a very low mag capacity inside of that Roni nowadays, so just not enough bullets in the tank to be able to take out Vert.
Continue to see Oxygen with their pressure forward throughout the map here, especially now that they've seen the more aggressive peaks from Pecan, and probably going to be expecting a few more of those. So Newers will be a bit cautious as he ventures forward, trying to take his own control. As he does so, ready to now fend off against this setup on the inside of the dorms. A nice shot there from ED. Is able to sneak off a bullet or two onto Newers, bringing him down a bit lower too. So Oxygen being something, unfortunately, in the opening moments of this round, and it's actually going to call for a complete fallback from Cafe. They don't really feel that's the right way to approach this. Foxy, regardless, going to get tripped up elsewhere on the map, though, by Harambe, giving Direwolves the first kill of the round.
ED has the potential to grab another Oxygen body. Oh, very close there. That reaction time would have been insane if he was able to get it. Vertical tries to hop in the window, and he's going to go down, but Newers will pick up one. Laxing, then traded out by Pecan. Newers now still inside a Cafe, has this LMG, and he's going to let it rock. Let it sing, but it's not going to find too much just yet. Dream now has to get something done. He'll get Jackie Wu. He's going to make this a lot more palatable, especially with Newers now hopping in the window of Arcade with him. He'll be able to propel Oxygen forward, as they know ED's around this space, trying to hold things down inside of Daycare. Has the potential to take out yet another member, and he will. The CZ won't get it done. Newers can actually pick himself up off of the cooldown. Might have a swing here, and the Thermite will be able to body him. Another swing from ED, though, will finally be able to take things down, or rather, another member from Direwolves. But either way, Direwolves claim the round and stave off Oxygen's dub just for an extended period of time.
Direwolves faring that much better here inside of the defensive side, looking to try and make as much of an impact as possible before the eventual outcome of this matchup does befall upon them. Once again, they will have to contend with their potential elimination here. As for Team 1, though, they're probably getting amped up back in Mexico City. They know that they are through now, so obviously you're going to be feeling fairly ecstatic about that and getting themselves ready to play against Oxygen and our other contenders from the other groups that have already confirmed their positions, along with the ones that will be doing so a little bit later on today.
Yeah, well, checking in on that. Dash on Twitter basically just said, hey, we're really happy about this, but I really don't think that we deserve it. We kind of need to go back and figure out some strategies for the playoff stage and see what we can potentially do. And honestly, I got to agree with him. I think Dash especially has been playing extremely well for Team 1. And you can say that about a lot of different players. Dots is another one that comes to mind when you mention Team 1 for myself personally. But past that, I mean, their game up against Direwolves, it was just really, really hard fought on both ends. I definitely think that Team 1 had the potential to win the game, but Direwolves, I mean, they're fighting from a downward position. I mean, it was do or die for them here today. I mean, you could say the same thing for Team 1, but Direwolves were even in a worse position. They had 0 points coming into today, and you know, when your back's against the wall and your fight or flight is engaged, especially in a competitive environment, you've got to fight.
Kind of gave themselves a lot of hope there for ultimately nothing at the end of the day, which does have to suck a little bit, but still, props for trying their hardest. They're not kind of giving up heading in today here, keeping a good head on their shoulders, and to be fair, nearly getting it done. As we saw, took down the opponent they actually really needed to beat, which was the one in front of them, just failing to do so here against Auction because they have looked so promising inside of this group stage here. Like we said, still on the cusp of a perfect group. 4 regulation wins, obviously an asterisk on that they played 2 less games than teams in other groups, but still 4 perfect games, all won in regulation. Fox is going to try to change up the fate inside of this round, however. They'll lose their initial player, but quickly correct that. Nearly gets himself traded, though, as ED tries to catch him with the SMG-11 from the Dragon. Stairs won't be the case, though. ED's still going to be able to maintain presence, and Jackie Wu will now jump into it as he finds Newers elsewhere on the map.
The game plays fast and furious, and the Nitro Cell will get rid of the drone on the windowsill for ED as they'll back off towards other pastures. Jackie Wu trying to see if anyone's holding the break window, but nobody home at the current moment. And 38 seconds remain for Oxygen to try and claim this round and finally slow down the reclamation of Direwolves into this game. Although, once again, for some of you that more than likely just joined back, Direwolves' hopes for making playoff stage here are dusted. Oxygen made it to overtime point. That means Direwolves only have the capability to gather 2 points at the end of the day, whereas Team 1 already have 4 points and have a better round diff against Direwolves.
Already a tense scenario here for the Direwolves, and it's going to continue to grow on them as this round gets deeper and deeper on its timer. Souffle, at the moment being hunted down, I believe, by Foxe, potentially playing around with the Dragon door over there. Vertical still waiting for his own chance to make impact as he's taken lab control, but hasn't really found any roaming presence from Direwolves. You guys probably saw that silhouette. There is one player hanging out in barrels right now that he could potentially catch later, but hasn't been able to physically see them just yet here. So still waiting for that opportunity to come to bear. Jackie Wu has now been spotted out, though, as he creeps out from that barrel position here. Igniting vertical and making him go for this potential play. And actually, no, he's going to bypass it, go right for the connector play instead. He's missed this one on the other side, though. He's more than likely seen it by this point, but no! Walks right in. The trade is there, not from the other side of connector, but from Throne instead. Harambe holds back the tide and stops the remaining members of Oxygen from flooding into the site now. Laxing will falter due to Jackie Wu's position over by barrels. Foxy will find one more exchange as he tries to force himself in through Dragon, but now he's got to contend with the rotate from Jackie as well as Harambe in the site, and it will just be too much to bear. One more round goes up on the board, and the Direwolves stay in this fight.
I believe it is a 6-5 scorer line now, and it's going to be an Oxygen timeout as these offensives have just not came together on this side. The initial one was there, but past that, it just hasn't came to fruition. So hopefully Redeemer can assist them and being able to get this one away from Direwolves. So Bunk Daycare will be their pick here. Well, we'll have to see what they can potentially do. Obviously, the coaches will have something to say about that. Just talked about Redeemer there for a bit, but obviously, like the Oxygen offenses have just been pretty lackluster. They're just kind of playing pretty loose right now and not really trying to get too much done across the map. It's really been just throwing it at the wall and hoping that it sticks, and that's what Direwolves are about. They're about that action, and they've been showing that time and time again on this defensive side.
Yep, absolutely the case. So OXG noticing some problems here. They are going to take a time, and again, you guys might be wondering, like, why are they bothering to? Like, this game is like kind of a throwaway for them at the end of the day. They don't really need to play into it. Still good practice at the end of the day for the rest of the playoffs here, especially considering that this opponent they're not going to have to contend with them later on in the tournament now. They can use this, as I was saying before, kind of as a bit of a scrim here to look into issues that maybe they were having previously, try some things out that maybe they've been flirting with throwing out into the playoffs here. Obviously, again, they're not going to want to straight up show anything here, but still, some changes to be made and some encouragement to be brought as they try to bring this game home here and now try to preserve what would be their flawless run inside of the group stage. If we see 1 or 2 more rounds being picked up from the Direwolves, that is going to first force Oxygen into their first OT of the tournament.
Yes, indeed. And for Direwolves at the moment, it's in fact a 4-6 scoreline, not a 5-6 scoreline. So Oxygen calling the timeout at an even better time slot than I initially had thought. And ED will make a little bit of a cheeky change for the defense. Alibi into Alibi, to be expected, obviously. But past that, Oxygen, though, will be sticking to their guns, all except for the Nook pick that was initially there for Vertical. He's going to switch back to an LMG. He'll be bringing Finka with her Adrenal Surges yet again. Those picked operators here at Charlotte, but again, that is to be expected as well. Finally, though, Oxygen will be back out and about after their tactical time out. We'll see what they can potentially muster against this Direwolves defense.
Not to be seen just yet here, as it's all going to be build up for this first 30 to 40 seconds or so. Oxygen still looking to work their way in from the east side of the map, it appears. So Dragon side, for those of you who go through Cardinals. Away from that, we'll see a few of them work their way up to Dragon Balcony first. Entry from there and begin the descent into the rest of the map. No direct contention coming out this time from Direwolves. We were seeing them flirt with that earlier on inside of the half here, playing directly against that first entry, whether it was Cash Doorway or Dragon Window there. They would fare pretty much directly against that play. And Pecan, to some extent, does it again here, rushing himself to the midpoint on Dragon Stairs. But he's got the wrong read on where the entry point is. They are playing for Cash, not necessarily the window, so that Nitro will yield minimal results.
Well, quite across the board as of right now, both of these teams. Oxygen finally being able to get in the top of Dragon. Newers looking for what could potentially be at the end of Waiting Hall, but inevitably has to make his move here as well. Has plenty of time to be able to hold these down. Direwolves are going to play patiently, though. No overswing just yet, but finally some damage coming on to Jackie Will as well as Foxy, but Foxy more on the receiving end than not. Frag grenade out. Won't be able to claim anything just yet, as I do believe it gets eaten up. Another one out as well. A pre-fire from Jackie Wu through the soft wall as he gets stunned out. He'll prone in behind, but no forward motion from the Oxygen members. They're still sticking to their guns here inside of security as well as the top of Dragon. So, with that being said, the rest of the Oxygen unit has to be around somewhere, and in fact they are. There's Newers finally. He's going to pop his head out and take down ED. Jackie looking for someone behind the control panel here, but not able to find it. Drone in, and they'll be able to know that Jackie's still in the area here for initiation as he bounces back and forth between waiting as well as the control door. Jackie unable to move any longer as this EE1D will lock him down. Vertical will finally get the kill as Vertical and the rest of Oxygen finally able to propel themselves forward.
Here's continuing to end this matchup here as he pushes the Direwolves down just to Souffle and Pecan. Now Pecan are the only ones remaining, and it doesn't stay that way for very long. It's a flawless round to end a flawless run in the group stage for OXG as they take the top of their group 4-0, not a single game going to overtime. And their worst scoreline being this one here, 7-4 versus the Direwolves. The same one being pulled off against another squad. Big congratulations to Oxygen. What a group stage played by these guys. And we'll be seeing them take the top seed heading into the playoffs.
And with that being said, folks, we're going to throw to a quick break, and we'll be back to break down this match.